I am terrible.
Just take a second.
Okay, so really, if I had a topic for what I want to talk about, I really want to talk about our relationships with God and how they should be and how they grow in Him. First, I want to ask, well, just something for y'all to think about. Think about your schedule, your daily schedule. For kids, I know it's summer now, so you have a lot of free time, but think like your school schedule. We all have busy schedules, especially if you do after-school sports and stuff like that. But do you ever feel like you're going to forget something or do something you're supposed to do? Or be somewhere that you're supposed to be? Or do you ever get tired? We tend to get too busy with the good things that we miss out on the great things. What I want to first read is a story about the two sisters, Mary and Martha. It can be found in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 40. And it says, "Now it came to pass as they went, that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister named Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister hath left me to serve alone? Bid her therefore that she help me." Now Jesus was very close to Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus. He loved them so much, he took time out of his day and he came to their house to spend time with them. Now, could you imagine if Jesus came and spent time with you at your house? Do you think your parents or even you would stress having your house perfect? Because we all know when we have friends and family that come over, we tend to make sure, I know my family does it, make sure your room's straight, clean the house before your friends come over.
Right.
They want everything done.
That's right.
So, I mean, you can see how Martha, while she was reacting the way she wanted, everything perfect, especially because, it's Jesus. Martha tended to play the hostess. She was cooking, cleaning, she had so much to do. However, Mary was doing nothing but sitting at Jesus' feet and listening to him, which made Martha very mad. And in Luke 10, the 41st to the 42nd verse, Jesus said to her, and Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about so many things, but one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her. Now Jesus understood why Martha was mad, but he wanted Martha to see that there was something far more important than the good things she was doing. She was too busy doing the good things and preparing the house for him that she missed out on the most important thing, which was spending time with Jesus. We need to take the time to focus on God. He wants us to spend time and listen to him. He told Martha, Mary chose what was better. You should always choose him over everything.
Amen.
We should remember the main thing in our life, which is God. We should always take the time to spend time and grow in him. Spending time and growing in him and building a relationship with him is a choice. And just like we put all of our activities and things we do with our friends on a schedule, we need to set a time to meet with him. We cannot let distractions keep us from him. Most of us have gone to the DMV, I'm sure, to take our driver's test. Maybe not all, but most of us. And there's a lot we had to learn before we took it. And there were many things that weren't outlined in the driving manual that were very essential if you were going to drive safely. Now, can you guess what the biggest cause of car accidents are today? Distracted driving. Distracted driving causes accidents and endangers not only you, but others. Although there is a bigger danger that is more likely to cause you to be a distraction, which is your cell phone. People that use their phones in their car are 3 times more likely to get into an accident. And just like there are distractions on the road that endanger you, there are distractions in our spiritual lives. In Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 2, it says, Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with the patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Now our goals as Christians are to only look to Jesus. We're supposed to focus on our relationship with God. Now, it's really easy to get distracted from our personal relationship with Jesus. You have work, you have your social time, you have sports, things you want to do. But the Bible tells us to remove from our lives anything that would get in the way. Sin, problems, success, family, friends, relationships, schools, all these things can get in the way. Now, it's not bad to spend time that's not bad to spend time with your family or with your friends. But you should make sure you shouldn't let that get in the way of your relationship with God.
That's right.
Now, instead of focusing on the distractions, we need to focus on Jesus. We need to find a quiet time to dedicate a chunk of our day to being with Him. And this gives us a relationship or a solid foundation. Go to a youth group, go to church, sing and help out with praise and worship, attend a small group. There are all ways to focus on God. But what about the rest of your life? We spend about 7 hours a day at school for us kids. Work even longer. Some of us also play sports or in clubs or do things after school, which dedicates more time that we take out of our day. Or most teens, I know I'm guilty of it. We're on our phone, texting, Snapchatting, Instagram, or other stuff that we just do in our spare time, like Netflix, watching TV. But why do we separate everyday activities from our relationship with God? How can we focus on God while doing what we do all day long? The key is to look for what God is doing in our daily lives as well as those around us. We should always be aware of what He's doing and don't question it. If it sounds weird or you think it's strange, you don't question it. You should do it.
That's right. Amen.
Let's say you have a teacher for kids. Let's say you have a teacher who gives you tons of homework. Well, I mean, y'all too. Y'all went to school. Tons of homework, and you don't like her. She's mean to you and your classmates. But instead of complaining about her, ask God what to do.
That's right.
Maybe He is teaching you patience and humility. These are all opportunities to look for Him into what you're doing. It's also an opportunity to see that God is working in your life. Now, instead of separating time with God from time doing life in separate compartments, blend them together. Notice what God is doing in your everyday life. Now, here's an idea. What if the distraction is sometimes the way? What often looks like a distraction away from God can actually bring you closer to Him. For instance, we have the story of Joseph in Genesis chapters 37 through 50. Joseph was very misunderstood by family. He was rejected by his brothers, sold into slavery. He became the slave of Potiphar, and an officer to the king of Egypt. Now in Genesis 39, verses 3 to 6, it stated, "And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him and made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hands. And it came to pass from time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand. And he knew not all he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well-favored." Now Joseph stayed loyal to God, even when sold into slavery. This situation forced him to actually focus on God, who proved himself faithful to Joseph. God gave him favor with the Potiphar, and he allowed Joseph to be put in charge of the entire household.
That's right.
However, later on, Joseph was falsely accused by the Potiphar's wife, which then sent him to jail. But he remained faithful to God. Now in Genesis 39, the 21st verse to the 23rd, it says, "But the Lord was with Joseph, and shewed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to the thing that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and which he did, the Lord made it to prosper." Now God continued to show in Joseph's life, even while he was in jail. This could have been a big distraction to Joseph from God. Being falsely accused by a wife and first being a slave, and then being falsely accused and thrown into jail, was actually another opportunity for God to show. Joseph remained in jail for 2 years, and then the Pharaoh had a bad dream. The Pharaoh called Joseph in to interpret the dream. And what Joseph interpreted was 7 years of plenty food, followed by 7 years of famine. Now in Genesis 41, 39th verse 40th, it says, "And the Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto my word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou." Now Joseph went from being in jail and being a slave to second in charge of Egypt. He was later reunited with family and his brothers, which he forgave. Now this story showed that distractions away from God can actually bring you closer. These events could have turned Joseph away from God. He could have become angry and bitter and turned away from God. But he let this bring him into a close relationship with God. We should take the moment to think, what distractions or problems are we facing that could bring us closer to God? Because after all, in order for us to be truly faithful in Him, we must first build our relationship with Him.
That's right.
Amen.